The city of Loom Arcadia sprawled across the horizon like a web of crystal veins glowing in the twilight. Overhead, 3 small moons hung suspended in the amber sky, casting their milky light onto the streets below. It was an age where humans and aliens coexisted, bound by treaties that had reshaped the planet after centuries of isolationism. Interstellar travel had dissolved borders, bringing with it both collaboration and complications. The story began with one man, an unassuming archivist in a district that specialized in cataloging the remnants of Earth's ancient history. He was known to be a solitary individual, someone who preferred the quiet hum of digital projectors to the din of the social markets. His life changed the moment the authorities arrived at his doorstep with a holographic letter bearing a sleek insignia of the Galactic Integration Bureau. Assigned liaison, the bureaucratic officer had said as the man peered skeptically at the document. It's standard now for high-value roles in cross-species districts. You'll find the arrangement beneficial. He didn't feel convinced, but the notice was clear. Refusal was not an option. The integration program aimed to foster understanding between Earth's population and the myriad alien civilizations now living amongst them. As an archivist handling rare knowledge, he was apparently considered strategically important. The liaison arrived 2 days later, descending from a sleek azure craft that hummed like a whisper. She was tall and impossibly graceful, her form slightly translucent, as though light flowed through her veins instead of blood. Her eyes shimmered, shifting in color like liquid mercury, and a faint, lilac glow pulsed across her skin in response to her surroundings. "You must be the archivist," she said in a voice that was neither too loud nor too soft, but seemed to find its way directly into his thoughts. He stared at her, unsure of how to respond. "You may call me your liaison," she offered, noticing his hesitation. "I am here to facilitate and optimize your work, as well as ensure the integration process is smooth. Shall we begin?" Her demeanor was professional but not cold. She carried an air of quiet competence, though her otherworldly beauty made it difficult for him to focus. She stepped lightly past him into the modest apartment, scanning her surroundings with interest. "Functional," she remarked, gesturing toward the stacked screens and cluttered desk. "I sense a preference for efficiency over aesthetics. I will adapt." The man muttered something about preferring things simple, and she nodded in understanding, her lilac glow brightening faintly. The first week was tense. He wasn't used to having another presence in his space, let alone someone so ethereal. She proved indispensable though, quickly familiarizing herself with the intricacies of human databases and even offering insights on alien artifacts that had baffled historians for decades. "Your interpretation of these glyphs is incomplete," she commented one morning, leaning over his shoulder to examine a holographic projection of an ancient artifact. "This pattern is not ornamental. It is a map." He looked up at her, startled. "A map? That's not in any of the references." "The references lack a crucial perspective," she said, gently manipulating the hologram to highlight faint symbols. "This script overlaps with the navigation systems of my species. With this, I can triangulate its point of origin." Her revelation sparked a breakthrough, earning him accolades from his department. The artifact was confirmed to be a fragment from a long-lost alien vessel, leading to an entire excavation project. For the first time, he saw her not just as a liaison but as an equal collaborator. As the weeks turned into months, their relationship deepened in unexpected ways. She wasn't just efficient, she was curious. Despite her composed exterior, she asked questions about the smallest details of human life, from why humans liked warm beverages to the significance of old songs he played late into the night. "Why do you play these melodies?" she asked one evening, her head tilted as she listened to a haunting tune drift through the apartment. "They remind me of things I've lost," he replied after a pause, his gaze distant. "Loss shapes much of human existence," she observed. "It is unfamiliar to me. My kind does not experience time or memory in the same linear fashion." He tried to imagine what it would be like to live without the weight of the past, but it was as alien to him as she was. "Maybe that's why we're different," he said. "You carry the stars in you, and we carry ghosts." Her gaze softened, the lilac glow around her dimming slightly as though in contemplation. "Perhaps that is why we are here together. To learn." Their bond did not go unnoticed. In a city designed for blending cultures, their partnership became a quiet symbol of the program's success. Yet, not everyone approved. There were those who resented the increasing influence of alien civilizations on Earth, and whispers of unrest grew louder in certain corners of the city. One evening, as they walked back from the archives, a group of hooded figures emerged from an alley. Their faces were obscured, but their intentions were clear. "Go back to your world," one of them spat, pointing a crude weapon at the alien. "You don't belong here." The man stepped forward instinctively, shielding her with his body. "She's here to help," he said firmly. "Leave us alone." The tension crackled in the air, but before the situation could escalate, the alien placed a hand on his shoulder. Her glow intensified, flooding the alley with light. The attackers stumbled back, blinded and disoriented, before scattering into the shadows. "You didn't have to do that," he said once they were alone again, his voice trembling with adrenaline. "I will always protect what is important," she replied simply. As time went on, it became harder for him to imagine life without her. She was more than an assistant. She was a presence that had brought light to corners of his life he hadn't realized were dark. He, in turn, shared parts of himself he had long buried, finding comfort in her unwavering acceptance. But nothing lasted forever. One day, she approached him with an expression he had never seen before, a mix of hesitation and sorrow. "My assignment here is complete," she said softly. "I have been recalled." The words hit him like a physical blow. Recalled? But why? Everything's been going so well. She looked at him with those shimmering eyes, her glow flickering faintly. "There are others who need me. Integration is an ongoing process, and my role is to move where I am needed most." He struggled to find words, but none felt adequate. You've made a difference here. To me. "And you have made a difference to me," she said, stepping closer. "I will carry what I have learned from you wherever I go." As she prepared to leave, he handed her a small object, a piece of Earth's history, a token of the time they had shared. "It's not much," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But maybe it'll remind you of here." She accepted it with a rare smile, her glow brightening one last time. "It will." The craft that took her away disappeared into the sky like a falling star. He watched until it was nothing more than a speck, a new kind of emptiness settling in his heart. But as he returned to his work, he found himself looking at the world differently, through her eyes, her questions, her light. And in that, she had never truly left. In the days that followed her departure, the man found himself in a haze of routines that felt hollow without her presence. The apartment was too quiet, the air too still. Her absence hung like a shadow over everything. Every object she had touched seemed to echo her faint lilac glow, though he knew it was just his imagination. Work at the archives continued, of course. The city's insatiable need for discoveries and connections between Earth and the galaxy drove him forward, though the passion he once felt was now tainted with melancholy. The artifact she had deciphered was being studied by a team of alien and human scientists, its secrets slowly unfolding. But without her insights, it all felt incomplete. It was on a quiet evening, weeks after she had left, that something unexpected happened. He was cataloging a set of ancient Earth documents when his home terminal emitted a chime he hadn't heard before. A holographic panel blinked into life, displaying an unfamiliar symbol. Circular, layered with intricate patterns that shimmered like liquid crystal. The man frowned. He tapped the panel, and a message unfolded, written in a hybrid language he recognized as hers. It was her handwriting, or whatever the equivalent of that was for her species. His heart skipped a beat as he read. "Archivist. I hope this reaches you. My departure was not by choice but by duty. There are forces at play far beyond the integration efforts we worked toward. I fear for the balance we sought to create between our peoples. Earth has always been more fragile than its people believe, and its history holds truths even I did not anticipate. I leave this message as both a warning and a call. Trust no one without reason. Question everything. And most importantly, remember the artifact. There is more to it than we realized. Until the stars cross our paths again." His pulse quickened as he read the words over and over, searching for hidden meaning. A warning? About the artifact? What could she have uncovered that had been left unsaid before her departure? He leaned back, the weight of the message settling over him. It wasn't just a goodbye, it was a puzzle, a plea, and a promise. The following days were consumed by his efforts to uncover what she had hinted at. He returned to the artifact with fresh eyes, poring over its inscriptions and consulting every database he could access. Her insights had given him a starting point, but now he was chasing something deeper, something she had deliberately left for him to find. The breakthrough came late one night. Using a combination of alien algorithms she had once shown him and his own archival expertise, he uncovered a layer of data embedded within the artifact, a series of coordinates and a cryptic sequence of symbols. The coordinates pointed to a location deep in the wastelands, far from the safety of the city. It was a place rarely ventured into, marked as uninhabitable after the environmental collapses of centuries past. Why there? And why had she left this for him to find? The journey to the wastelands was not an easy decision. Official channels were no help. Requests to investigate the area were denied without explanation. Suspicion gnawed at him as he realized her warning about trust was more relevant than he had anticipated. If the artifact's secrets were dangerous, there were likely powerful entities that wanted them kept hidden. Determined, he prepared for the journey in secret. Using funds and resources he had carefully accumulated, he secured transport and supplies. It was reckless, yes, but he couldn't ignore the weight of her words or the gnawing sense that this was something far bigger than either of them. The wastelands were a desolate, haunting landscape. Cracked earth stretched endlessly under a pale, washed-out sky, punctuated by jagged remnants of structures that had long since been claimed by time. The air carried an eerie stillness, broken only by the distant whine of the wind. Following the coordinates, he arrived at what appeared to be an ancient facility buried beneath layers of sand and debris. It took hours of careful excavation, his tools humming as they cut through centuries of neglect, before he uncovered the entrance, a massive, circular door etched with the same glyphs as the artifact. As he activated the entrance with a sequence of symbols, a low rumble vibrated through the ground, and the door slid open to reveal a cavernous interior. Lights flickered to life, illuminating a space that felt both ancient and advanced. The walls pulsed faintly with energy, as if the facility itself were alive. At the center of the chamber stood a structure unlike anything he had ever seen, a monolithic pillar of crystalline material that seemed to hum with a rhythm just out of sync with his heartbeat. Approaching it cautiously, he realized the artifact was merely a fragment of this larger whole. As he reached out to touch the pillar, a voice echoed through the chamber, not hers, but one eerily similar. It was synthetic, yet warm. "Welcome, archivist. You have reached the heart of the starbound legacy. The journey you began was not yours alone." The voice explained that the artifact, and this facility, were remnants of an ancient alliance between humanity and her species. Long before recorded history, their worlds had collided in a partnership that had once thrived but ultimately been erased from human memory. This place had been hidden to protect the knowledge it held, knowledge that could reshape the galaxy if it fell into the wrong hands. But there was more. The facility revealed fragments of a message left by her. "I knew you would find this," her voice said, recorded and faintly distorted. "The truth is more than history. It is power. Protect it. And if the time comes, share it only with those who can see beyond their own desires." He left the facility with more questions than answers, but also with a renewed sense of purpose. The knowledge he had uncovered wasn't just about the past, it was about the future and the fragile balance between worlds. Though she was gone, her presence lingered in every choice he made. Her warning had set him on this path, and her faith in him kept him moving forward. Somewhere, out among the stars, he knew she was doing the same, lighting the way for others, as she had for him. And as he returned to the city, the artifact safely hidden, he felt a quiet determination growing within him. Their story wasn't over. It was only beginning. The man returned to Loom Arcadia under the shroud of night, the artifact's secrets weighing heavily on his mind. Each step back into the city felt like treading on fragile glass, a world teetering between ignorance and revelation. The facility he had discovered was now etched into his memory, a reminder of humanity's shared history with the stars and a warning of what could come if that history was mishandled. He knew he couldn't trust the authorities, not with what he now carried. The Galactic Integration Bureau, once a symbol of hope, had become a maze of hidden agendas. Her warning echoed in his thoughts. Question everything. Trust no one without reason. Instead of returning to the archives, he sought refuge in the hidden layers of the city, places where dissenters, outcasts, and truth-seekers thrived. In these shadowed corners, he found unexpected allies, humans and aliens alike who had grown disillusioned with the system. Together, they began decoding the deeper layers of the artifact's message. Weeks turned into months. The man learned to navigate a world far more complex than the orderly life he had once known. The secrets he uncovered hinted at the existence of a second facility, one buried even deeper within the galactic web. This place, if found, might hold the final piece of the puzzle, the reason why the alliance between humanity and her species had crumbled. His liaison's absence was a constant ache, but it was also a source of strength. Her faith in him, her unwavering belief that he was capable of carrying this burden, kept him going. And though she was gone, he began to see her influence everywhere. In the light of the moons above, in the soft curiosity of his new companions, and in the hope that history could be rewritten. The tipping point came when the Bureau discovered his efforts. A raid on his hidden base forced him and his allies into the open, their knowledge now a threat to those who wished to maintain control. In the chaos that followed, he made the difficult decision to send the artifact and its data away, trusting his new allies to continue the work. For him, escape was the only option. As the authorities closed in, he fled the city under cover of darkness, boarding a small, unregistered craft that would take him beyond Earth's reach. In the quiet void of space, as the stars stretched endlessly before him, he allowed himself a moment to reflect. The artifact, the facility, the knowledge, they were no longer his alone to protect. Others would carry the torch now, fighting to uncover the truths that had been buried for centuries. And as he stared into the vastness, he couldn't help but wonder where she was. Did she know what he had done? Did she still think of him as he thought of her? Perhaps their paths would cross again. Perhaps they wouldn't. But in his heart, he felt certain of one thing: she would be proud. The journey was not over. It never truly was. But for now, the man allowed himself a small, bittersweet smile, the faint glow of hope warming him against the cold expanse. Somewhere, beyond the stars, the story continued.